At times, we may believe that we are capable of managing any challenges that come our way. However, there are moments when even the tiniest issue can feel overwhelming. What causes this shift? It's not necessarily the circumstances we encounter. Many of us have found ourselves upset over something that wouldn't typically affect us. Conversely, we can also recover from significant setbacks, perceiving them as a natural aspect of life. The crucial factor lies not in the events themselves, but in our mental resilience. Building mental strength is crucial in order to avoid being consumed by negative thoughts. It enables us to navigate the highs and lows of life with ease. Just like physical strength, mental strength is akin to a muscle that can be strengthened to enhance our overall well-being. While some individuals are able to quickly bounce back from personal setbacks, others may find it more challenging. If you belong to the latter group and often feel overwhelmed or doubt your ability to overcome obstacles, there's no need to worry. There are 9 Buddhism habits that can help you develop mental fortitude. By practicing discipline and putting in hard work, you can learn how to improve your resilience. Our ability to bounce back is often put through the test when unexpected and unfortunate events occur, such as the loss of a loved one, losing a job, or the end of a relationship. However, these challenges also present an opportunity for us to rise above them and emerge even stronger than before. 1. Developing skills. Developing mental strength in Buddhism involves honing skills that enhance resilience. This process cultivates a sense of mastery and competence that proves invaluable during challenging times. Moreover, it elevates self-esteem and problem-solving capabilities. The specific skills to acquire vary depending on the individual's needs. For example, improving cognitive abilities like working memory or selective attention can greatly enhance day-to-day functioning. On the other hand, adopting competency-based approaches to learn new hobbies can also yield significant benefits. Engaging in skill development within a group setting offers additional advantages, such as social support, which further nurtures resilience. In the pursuit of mental strength, the Buddhist approach to skill development transcends conventional notions of acquiring expertise or knowledge. It delves into cultivating virtues and qualities that contribute to a well-rounded and resilient character. Mindfulness serves as the foundation for skill development in Buddhism. Mindfulness. Mindfulness is more than a mere technique. It encompasses a complete state of being fully engaged in the present moment. By refining this skill, you cultivate an elevated level of consciousness towards your thoughts, emotions, and actions, resulting in a transformative change in how you navigate the complex terrain of your mind. In the Buddhist tradition, mindfulness goes beyond being a simple tool for stress reduction. It serves as the gateway to achieving self-mastery. The practice entails purposefully directing your attention to the current moment without passing judgment. Through dedicated mindfulness meditation, you develop a heightened awareness of your thoughts and emotions, empowering you to respond to them with clarity and purpose. Mindfulness is not limited to meditation alone. It can also be applied to your everyday activities. Whether you are eating, walking, or performing routine tasks, being fully present in the moment can greatly enhance your overall awareness. This heightened state of awareness becomes a valuable tool in gaining insight into the patterns of your mind and liberating yourself from automatic reactions. In Buddhism, the cultivation of compassion is closely intertwined with the development of mental strength. Compassion goes beyond mere sympathy for others' suffering. It is a powerful force that drives you to actively alleviate the pain of those around you. By extending compassion to both yourself and others, you build a deep wellspring of inner strength that enables you to overcome life's challenges. Loving kindness meditation. Engaging in the practice of loving kindness meditation, which is a core element of Buddhist teachings, entails cultivating sentiments of benevolence and empathy towards oneself as well as others. By embracing this practice, you not only nurture a profound sense of interconnectedness, but also enhance your capacity to approach challenges with a heart full of compassion. Equanimity. Equanimity, a quality frequently highlighted in Buddhist teachings, refers to the capacity to uphold inner stability and tranquility amidst life's highs and lows. The process of developing equanimity does not entail becoming apathetic towards the world. Instead, it involves nurturing a harmonious and unwavering mindset that can gracefully navigate the inevitable fluctuations of life. Meditative practices like vipassana or insight meditation have a profound impact on cultivating equanimity. By engaging in these practices, you gain the ability to observe the impermanence of sensations, thoughts, and emotions. Over time, you learn to detach yourself from their fleeting nature. This detachment becomes a wellspring of resilience, empowering you to confront challenges without feeling overwhelmed by them. While it is essential to cultivate internal qualities, Buddhism also acknowledges the significance of refining practical skills. These skills, whether in a professional or personal context, enable you to actively participate in the world with purpose. Within Buddhism, the concept of right livelihood underscores the value of engaging in ethical work that positively impacts society and resonates with your own values. Think of your skills as valuable assets in a toolbox, each with its own unique function. Continuously evaluate and improve these assets, making sure they are honed and properly cared for. By adopting this mindset, you not only boost your proficiency in different aspects of life, but also cultivate a strong sense of assurance and self-belief, which are essential elements of mental resilience. 2. Goal setting. Buddhism places great emphasis on the significance of establishing clear intentions and objectives. Although the path of self-exploration may feel like venturing into unknown territory, having a goal serves as a guiding compass, providing direction for your endeavors. In Buddhist teachings, this is not about clinging to worldly desires, but rather aligning your aspirations with the greater welfare. Setting goals in Buddhism entails nurturing virtuous intentions, such as the yearning for personal development, empathy towards others, and the quest for inner tranquility. By grounding your actions in these optimistic aspirations, you establish a clear path towards developing mental fortitude. This path will guide you through the unavoidable obstacles of life with determination and adaptability. As you embark on the journey of cultivating mental strength, setting goals becomes your guiding beacon, illuminating the way amidst life's vast ocean. These goals serve as small lighthouses that illuminate the direction we desire to pursue. In Buddhism, it is not merely about any goals. It is about directing our focus towards endeavors that bring positivity not only to ourselves, but also to the world around us. In Buddhism, goal setting goes beyond mere desires and encompasses the aspiration to transform ourselves. It involves choosing to cultivate kindness, pursue personal growth, and radiate positivity in our interactions. These goals serve as our guiding light, steering us through life's challenges and enabling us to stay committed to our chosen path even during difficult times. 3. Controlled exposure. In the immense expanse of existence, storms are bound to arise. Buddhism imparts the wisdom that true mental fortitude lies not in evading challenges, but in confronting them with composure. The skill of controlled exposure involves gradually facing hardships, enabling oneself to develop resilience without succumbing to overwhelming pressure. From a Buddhist standpoint, controlled exposure is intricately connected to mindfulness. By being fully present amidst difficulties, one can observe their reactions without being engulfed by them. This practice fosters a profound inner tranquility, empowering individuals to gracefully navigate the tempests of life with unwavering strength and adaptability. Envision life as a vast ocean, where mighty waves occasionally crash upon you. Buddhism imparts the wisdom of not evading these waves, but rather confronting them gradually. This practice is known as controlled exposure. It's akin to acquiring the skill of swimming by taking small steps instead of plunging into the deep end immediately. Mindfulness, which entails wholeheartedly focusing on the present moment, acts as a life jacket in this oceanic journey. It enables you to remain buoyant when faced with turbulent waves. By calmly confronting challenges, you acquire the ability to navigate through life's storms without succumbing to feelings of being lost or frightened. Controlled exposure is not about hastily or coercively thrusting oneself into challenging circumstances. It entails a gradual journey of developing self-assurance and fortitude. Therefore, when life's tumultuous challenges arise, you can confront them with composure and determination, akin to an adept sailor navigating through tempestuous waters. 4. Make connections. Buddhism places great emphasis on the interconnectedness of everything. In order to develop mental strength, it is crucial to acknowledge and foster the intricate network of relationships that connect us to others. This entails nurturing meaningful connections, cultivating empathy, and recognizing the profound influence our actions can have on the world surrounding us. In Buddhist teachings, the emphasis on cultivating connections goes beyond human relationships. It encompasses our connection with the environment, all living beings, and even the universe itself. By acknowledging and embracing this interdependence, we enhance our mental resilience and recognize that our own well-being is intricately tied to the well-being of others. Buddhism enlightens us about friendship, not just among individuals, but also in relation to everything that surrounds us. Picture a vast spider web where each strand represents a connection. This is how Buddhism perceives life, as an interconnected web. In simpler terms, forging connections means building bridges instead of walls. It involves caring for others and understanding that our actions have an impact on them. Consider the immense joy that arises when you offer assistance to a friend, or the profound sadness that engulfs you when witnessing someone in pain. According to Buddhism, this connection is akin to a precious treasure as it fortifies us. Kindness acts as the adhesive that binds these connections together. By embodying kindness, we enhance our ties with others. Buddhism urges us to cultivate compassion, empathize with others, and extend a helping hand whenever someone is in need. Not only does this kindness benefit those we assist, but it also nurtures our own hearts, making them resilient and content. Connections are not limited solely to human beings. Buddhism teaches us to regard nature as our ally. The trees, animals, and the entire world surrounding us are integral parts of this vast interconnected web. When we care for nature, we simultaneously care for ourselves. This bond with the earth is crucial for bolstering our mental fortitude. Have you ever experienced feelings of loneliness or sadness? According to Buddhism, these emotions arise when we forget about our interconnectedness. However, when we acknowledge that we are part of a vast and beautiful web, the sense of isolation diminishes. We come to realize that we are not alone. Rather, we are intricately linked to everything and everyone around us. Consider the image of dropping a pebble into a pond. The ripples that emanate from it spread in all directions. Our actions can be likened to that pebble. When we establish positive connections with others, acts of kindness create ripples that extend far beyond ourselves. These gestures are visible and palpable to others, inspiring them to also embrace kindness. It sets off a chain reaction of goodness. Now envision your favorite building. It stands tall because it has been constructed on a solid foundation. Similarly, forging connections is akin to laying the groundwork for your own life. When faced with challenges and adversity, just as strong winds may buffet against a well-built structure without causing damage, having solid connections can help you weather the storms of difficulty in life successfully. 5. Avoid seeing crisis as insurmountable problems. Buddhism emphasizes the significance of maintaining a balanced perspective when faced with adversity. Life is filled with crises, challenges, and difficulties, but it is how we perceive and react to them that determines our mental strength. Instead of perceiving problems as impossible hurdles, Buddhism urges us to see them as chances for personal growth and transformation. The art of perspective in Buddhism involves developing a mindset that views challenges as stepping stones rather than obstacles. This change in perception enables us to confront difficulties with resilience, recognizing them as opportunities for self-discovery and personal development. Life occasionally presents us with difficult situations. It can feel like confronting major obstacles or enduring extremely challenging periods. Buddhism imparts a valuable lesson. Our perspective on these tough times is crucial. Imagine playing a game. If you perceive it as too difficult, you may be inclined to give up. However, what if you view it as an opportunity to improve? Buddhism is akin to wearing positive glasses when confronted with life's challenges. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, try seeing challenges as a game that offers valuable lessons. It's not about the level of difficulty in the game, but rather the skills and knowledge gained while playing it. 6. Accept that change is a part of living. Change is the sole constant in life, and Buddhism places a significant emphasis on embracing the impermanence of everything. To develop mental resilience, one must learn to adapt to the ever-changing circumstances instead of opposing them. This entails acknowledging the fleeting nature of both happiness and pain. Buddhist teachings on impermanence enlighten us about the futility of clinging to the past or dreading the future, as it only leads to suffering. By embracing life's perpetual transformations, you cultivate a robust mindset that remains steadfast amidst uncertainties. This acceptance empowers you to navigate through life's ups and downs with calmness and composure. Life is comparable to a river, constantly in motion and evolving. According to Buddhism, everything is impermanent, signifying that nothing remains the same indefinitely. Consider the cycle of seasons. Summer transitions into fall, fall into winter, and so forth. In a similar vein, life is perpetually shifting. What's fascinating about this Buddhist concept is that instead of becoming upset when things change, it teaches us to embrace it. Imagine having a beloved toy that suddenly breaks. Rather than shedding tears over its demise, you acknowledge its broken state and seek new avenues for enjoyment. That's the essence of impermanence, accepting that everything changes and finding solace in such acceptance. When we resist change, it's akin to attempting to halt the flow of a river. It simply doesn't work and only leads to frustration. However, when we go with the flow, we uncover a sense of liberation. Therefore, on our journey towards mental fortitude, let us embrace the notion that change is an inherent aspect of existence. Let us be like a leaf gracefully drifting downstream, allowing ourselves to be carried by the current rather than struggling against it. 7. Take decisive actions. Imagine having a large collection of toys in a big box, but you can't play with all of them simultaneously. Instead, you get to select the ones that truly captivate your interest. Life is quite similar in this regard. It's all about making choices. Buddhism emphasizes the importance of choosing wisely, as if you possess a superpower called thinking. Before taking any action, it encourages thoughtful consideration of whether it aligns with making good choices. Will it bring happiness? Will it benefit others? Being a decision-making superhero entails more than just acting randomly. It involves utilizing your thinking power to make choices that radiate positivity and uplift not only yourself, but also those around you. 8. Look for opportunities for self-discovery. Buddhism teaches us to delve within ourselves and uncover the extraordinary qualities we possess. Take a moment to close your eyes and reflect on what brings you joy, what brings laughter to your life, or what you excel at. This is where the true treasure lies. Meditation acts as a training ground for your mind, akin to superhero training, enabling you to unearth this treasure. It's not about seeking external riches like gold or diamonds. It's about discovering the inner gold and diamonds that reside within you. So make it a daily habit to explore your thoughts and emotions. You'll be amazed by the incredible discoveries waiting for you. Think of yourself as a superhero embarking on a mission of self-discovery, uncovering the remarkable person that you truly are. 9. Take care of yourself. Imagine having a superhero suit that grants you the power to take care of yourself. Nourishing your body with good food, getting enough sleep, and engaging in activities that bring you joy become part of your superhero routine. According to Buddhism, you are in control of your well-being, just like being a pet owner. Your body and mind are like pets, and you are the superhero owner responsible for feeding them well, providing rest, and playing with them. Therefore, it is essential to wear your superhero suit every day by prioritizing self-care. You don't need to possess superhuman abilities or perform extraordinary feats. All it takes is treating yourself as the incredible superhero that you truly are. In the journey to become mentally strong, remember that it's a process of continuous growth and self-discovery. Embrace the teachings of Buddhism as valuable tools on this path, helping you navigate the complexities of life with resilience, compassion, and a positive mindset. The combination of skill development, goal setting, controlled exposure, making connections, viewing challenges as opportunities, accepting change, taking decisive actions, exploring self-discovery, and self-care forms a holistic approach to building and maintaining mental strength.